Today we're going to talk about how to become a professional photographer. This is a deep video. I am not going to gloss over anything. I'm going to lay it all out on the table, but in as short amount of time as possible. Welcome or welcome back. If you haven't already, please do press the subscribe button and click the bell icon. The bell icon will help you out because it gives you a notification every single time I upload a video. I upload a video every week and sometimes more than that if I feel like it. Today I'm going to talk to you about a very big subject that's going to probably annoy some people within the field, and I'm going to just do it because it needs to be done. This is going to be paraphrased because I usually run a full weekend 2-day workshop on this, and I can't condense that down into 15 minutes because that would be stupid, but we're going to do a quick overview. I guess the first question really is, what is a professional photographer? And the definition of a professional photographer really does vary depending on who you ask. The generally accepted definition is somebody who owns either 100% of their income or 50% of their income from photography. That is the definition. Therefore, if you make £100 a month and 50 of that came from photographs, technically you can go around calling yourself a professional photographer. Now, I'm pretty sure by my tone and general demeanour that you will notice that I am not completely on board with this definition because I think it is too vague. I think it really does not show the level of skill and time and effort it takes to become an actual professional photographer. And I think personally that actually being a professional photographer should come back to business skill as well, because you can be an amazing photographer and run a really bad photography business. And I think that's a very common situation, without being mean, of course. So I guess my version of a professional photographer is slightly different, and I guess part of that comes from whether you would be accepted into a professional photography organisation, of which some of them do have quite stringent guidelines. For example, you have to do photography full time, you have to have business insurance, you have to have a professional website and all those other things. And again, that's a good benchmark, but again, it doesn't cover it off. So in my opinion, a professional photographer is somebody who is incredibly good at taking photographs with a camera, and they have to know how to use their equipment completely. That means that they need to be able to use it in most situations with confidence, barely even thinking. Almost like when you learn to drive a car. At first, it's awful and you have no idea what you're doing, and within a few months' time, it becomes completely second nature. It's not that straightforward for photography, but it is similar. And the second part of it is that you can consistently produce work that is of an incredibly high technical standard and also is completely different from anything that the public could do themselves. Unfortunately, the second half of that, the bit that the public can do themselves, continually goes upwards because of smartphone technology. I only have whatever iPhone this is, and I can take pretty damn good pictures on it. People use phone apps now to edit their pictures, so you have to create value in your photography, and that also counts to creating a successful photography business. So if you are not overrun with bookings, if you do not have the interest and you are already a professional photographer by some definition, then it's probably because your work is something that the public could probably get very close to themselves. So bear that in mind. So then the next question is how to become a professional photographer. And if you don't already know, becoming a professional photographer is starting a business and also throwing yourself into the wolves at the same time. It is not for the faint of heart. It is incredibly lonely, it is isolating, and it is difficult. It is hard work. You are going to be spending hours doing work that very quickly you may lose interest in. So just bear that in mind, taking it from experience and also speaking to hundreds of you over the years. It's important to also remember that you need to start somewhere. So don't jump straight into I'm going to run a business, because chances are you've probably never run a business before, because you really need to think about these things very, very carefully. Do not just quit your job and start a photography business. That is not going to end well. Tough love here, guys. Please listen. I'm not trying to be mean. I'm not trying to rain on your parade. I'm just trying to be honest. So You need to make sure that you have got your technical skill there, you've got your camera skill there, you have the right equipment for the job, and you are fully mentally prepared for what is going to come ahead. If you don't have those things, watch videos on my YouTube channel and actually put them into practice. You want to have your editing at a standard where people can't do that themselves. It is no longer a viable business option to take pictures and basically sell them straight out of camera. That doesn't work anymore. It's not going to provide you with a sustainable income, so don't do it. You have to put extra effort and extra time into things, and lenses like the one that I mentioned last week, which I will link above, lenses like that will produce images that nobody can create themselves other than photographers with that lens. And there are different lenses that fall into this category, like the 200mm f2, like some of the H25s, like the 135 1.8s, and obviously like the 105 1.4. You have to have the equipment that backs it up. You don't need to have the newest camera body. You don't need to shoot mirrorless. You don't need to have all the fancy things, but you do need a good lens. And the next thing you need to do, obviously, is you need to get business insurance. You need to, as an absolute minimum, have public liability insurance. That's the first thing that you need to have. Secondly, you're going to want to have camera insurance, because that is vital, and the costs are now starting to ramp up a little bit, added on top of your Adobe subscription, which is also an expense. And if you have any employees at all, you're going to need employer liability insurance. So you have to have your business insurances in place and be very clear to know what is and isn't covered. The next step, after you've got all of those sort of groundwork done, you need to build a portfolio, and that portfolio should show only the best of your work, but also be work that you could quite easily reproduce on every session. You should not in your portfolio have more than one really image of every dog, and ideally you should use a variety of locations. A good rule of thumb is a minimum of 10 different subjects in 10 different locations, and if you can do that and have a consistent body of work, as it's called, then that will help you to get clients. It's important at this stage that you have a style. So if you do not have a style, you need to go ahead and watch the style interviews, which is on our YouTube channel with some incredible photographers, and that will help to guide you in a direction to find your own style, because it's not something that I will teach you at all. I can help guide you there, but I'm not going to tell you what your style is, because it's so personal. And it's another reason why I don't like to teach people how to do exactly what I do, because then we are all just becoming the same photographer at the end of the day, and that's not going to help anybody. It doesn't help your clients, it doesn't help the industry, and it doesn't help yourself. Also, at this point, stop using presets unless they are for very, very quick little editing things, like a sharpen preset, for example. If you create your own actions, awesome. If you use other people's actions, full action packs, stop, because it's not actually teaching you how to edit. It's teaching you how to shortcut your way to an end result, but in the process you will clip highlights, you will lose shadows, you will over sharpen, you will add noise, you will add fringing, you will do loads of bad things that you really want to be avoiding. So stop using them now. The next step is to have a website. If you do not have a website and don't know how to build a website, you really might want to pay someone else to build your website. I would not recommend paying me to build your website, because to be honest with you, if you're an absolute startup and you don't have a big budget, I'm probably not going to be able to meet your needs, but there are other places out there. First rule of thumb, do not use Wix. Second rule of thumb, try Squarespace. If you are up for a big challenge and probably a headache, use WordPress. I personally am a WordPress developer, so I am at home on WordPress, but if you aren't, it can be quite confusing and can result in an ugly site. So use Squarespace as your first point of call. At this point, you then need to get very, very clear on your costs. This is what we go through in the IPS workshops and also in business workshops. We go through in detail CODB, COL, COGS, which is cost of doing business, cost of living, and cost of goods sold. You need to have spreadsheets with everything detailed, everything. Even the pizza that you get on a Friday night, that'll be in your cost of living, but that needs to be in there. Once you have your figures all there, you can then begin to create future projections and also create a price list with very accurate profit margins, which is vital to running a successful business. If you don't know that, you are working blind. And you also need to track your time. How long does it take you to edit? How long does it take you to shoot? How long does it take you to get there? How long does it take you to do everything else? And the final thing is that you have to be doing in-person sales session. If you use galleries, you might as well just kind of stop now. I'm not saying that it never works, because it does sometimes work for certain things like events or mini sessions, yes. However, if you are not using in-person sales sessions and you are shooting portrait sessions, you are leaving a serious amount of dollar on the table, and that's not forcing someone, that's not forcing a customer to buy something. That is just the truth of the matter. How am I supposed to explain to a client how that looks on their wall if they've never seen it before? How am I going to expect them to spend £500 on a 30 by 40 of this if they've never seen it before? Oh yeah, it's got a frame and the print is off of the back. No one's going to do that. You have to show them what you've got, and you have to have it in person. And remember the old adage, show big, sell big. After you've got everything else done in the big list that we've already gone through so far, you kind of also need a brand. If you've not covered the brand part, you might want to look at my other business stuff to do whilst in lockdown. Even if we are not in lockdown, it is still very, very important. But that video is probably something that's definitely worth looking at in terms of everything else that you need to get. And it also includes marketing. I'm not going to cover marketing today. At the end of the day, you do need to market your business at this point. Now that you have got everything ready, you can go out into the local community and start to market your work. There are many ways of doing this. It's going to be completely unique to your business, to your target market, to your local area, and to your price list as to where you go next. So do not buy a one size fits all kind of thing, because it's very, very, very bespoke in terms of who you are marketing to and how you should market. Obviously, you need a very good brand to be able to market. You also need to have that brand on the website and also on your price list and other stuff. So that is really important. And finally, the final step in the whole thing to become a professional photographer is to make more than 50% of your income from photography. And once you've done that, congratulations, you are now a professional photographer. 3 top tips for being a professional photographer is, number 1, do not give that much of a crap about what the local photographers are doing in terms of your direct competition, because ideally you should have a completely different style and a different business proposition for people, and therefore you actually aren't competing for the same clients at all. Number 2, remember that if you are competing, you're competing against your client's budget. You're not competing against other competitors most of the time. Most of the time you're competing against the kid's new iPhone or the holiday to France, not the photographer up the road. So just bear in mind that you are actually wanting to bring your customers in rather than beat your local competition. And the third top tip for being a professional photographer is, do not stay there alone. You guys know I'm very open about mental health, and you guys know as well that in the community the mental health situation is not good. I've got a survey on that, video coming shortly. From the initial survey results, it's actually shocking, and we will cover that. So it's really important to look after your mental health. And if it gets too much, it's not shameful to admit that maybe this is not the right career path for you. Like I've said, it is very, very difficult. Most people come in, try, burn out, leave. That's the general process. So if you do end up being in the profession and you actually think this is fine, I can handle it, then you are one of the few, not one of the many. And that's one of the other reasons why you really shouldn't worry about the local competition or a new photographer coming in, because the chances are they're not going to be there for long in the nicest possible way. There are ways you can help your business, and if you haven't already, just get in touch and I will see what I can do to help you out. I will be offering, and I do offer through my other business anyway, business and marketing coaching advice, which includes for photographers as well as other people. And also things like help on in-person sales sessions, pricing, all of that kind of thing is stuff that I offer and talk through with people on a daily basis. So if you get stuck, please give me a shout. And if you haven't already, please press the subscribe button and click the bell icon. I'm really sorry if this was quite a morbid video. I just needed to cover it off, and to be fair, it's actually a really deep topic, so to make it light-hearted and fun is nearly impossible. But if you stuck with us to this point, then you deserve a medal. Please come find me on Instagram. I would love to hear from you, and I would love to see you over there. Yeah, that's kind of it. I'll see you again soon.